Picture the NFL offseason for a second. If you're a casual fan, you probably imagine it as this quiet, relaxing period. Guys are on vacation, recovering, getting away from the grind. But look closer, because behind the closed doors of team facilities right now, it is an absolute pressure cooker. It is a high-stakes, ruthless, calculating waiting game. And currently, out in Seattle, there is a fascinating, incredibly tense subplot unfolding that perfectly captures the harsh reality of this league. Imagine this. You've got a starting player, a guy who has bled for the team, going on the radio, pouring his absolute heart out to the media. He is practically begging for a long-term commitment. And the response from the front office, absolute, deafening silence. Nothing. Just cold, calculating quiet. Now, this isn't just a story about one isolated player trying to secure a bag. No, this is a cinematic look into the brutal business of professional football. We're going to dive deep into the reality of the salary cap and the impossible, agonizing choices that championship-contending teams are forced to make when human loyalty goes head-to-head with unfeeling mathematics.
98%. I really want you to let that number sink in for a moment. That staggering figure represents Anthony Bradford's regular season snap count. Now, to truly understand the sheer gravity of that metric, we have to talk about the environment he operates in. We are talking about the interior of the offensive line, the trenches. Out there, every single snap is literally a high-speed car crash. It's 300-pound super athletes colliding with malicious intent, 60 to 70 times a Sunday. Playing 98% of the offensive snaps in that specific brutal environment, it's an absolute anomaly. It is almost superhuman. It instantly establishes his sheer on-field value and unbelievable physical durability. You know the old saying, right? Availability is the best ability in pro sports. Well, Bradford was the Iron Man. He was the one constant you could circle on the whiteboard. When you are on the field for nearly every single offensive play that a team runs over the course of a grueling, bone-crushing 17-game season, you are essentially the engine room of that entire offense. So naturally, common sense tells you that kind of monumental effort, that willingness to just sacrifice your body week in and week out, well, that guarantees you a massive payday, right? It guarantees front office adoration. But as we're about to see, the reality of the National Football League is far, far more complicated than that.
Listen to these words. These are Anthony Bradford's verified exact words from a recent interview on 93.3 KJR radio. To understand the real weight of this contract standoff, we have to ground this financial narrative in the human stakes at play. Bradford didn't walk into this league with a silver spoon. He came in grinding for absolutely every single inch. As a fourth-round draft pick out of LSU, nothing was handed to him. Not a thing. He had to fight tooth and nail in training camps. He had to outwork seasoned veterans, continually proving to multiple coaching staffs that he actually deserved to be a starting guard in the NFL. And now, entering his fourth season, he's looking around the locker room, looking at the city he plays for, and he is laying all of his cards completely face up on the table. My heart and soul is in Seattle. Look, in a league where players are constantly and honestly often unfairly accused of just being mercenaries chasing the biggest bag of guaranteed money in free agency, Bradford is publicly stating his total, unwavering loyalty to the franchise. He feels like a true Seahawk. He has played through unimaginable soreness for 98% of the season. But here is the tragic flaw in that old-school mentality. In the modern NFL, emotional declarations and public displays of loyalty rarely, if ever, move the financial needle.
And that brings us to the jarring disconnect at the very center of this explainer. It's a tale of two completely different realities. On one hand, you have the player's unquestionable truth, an Iron Man snap count, blood, sweat, and total organizational loyalty. But on the exact opposite side, you have a harsh, deeply uncomfortable reality surrounding how he is actually perceived. To say Anthony Bradford has been a polarizing figure among the local fan base, honestly, that would be a massive understatement. His generally inconsistent play in pass protection, combined with some highly visible mistakes on critical third downs, have turned him into something of a punching bag. If you look at social media, sports forums, or listen to local talk radio, fans are ruthless. They have been actively, loudly lamenting the fact that the team hasn't yet drafted over him or signed a premium free agent to take his job. And the front office? They haven't even opened the door on contract conversations. They are operating in total silence. Just try to imagine the massive psychological burden for a player. You're out there every single down, absorbing the physical punishment of defensive tackles, absorbing the intense vocal anger of your own fans, all while the executives upstairs refuse to even slide a preliminary lowball offer across the negotiation table. It is incredibly isolating.
But just when you think you have this entire story figured out, just when you assume the team is simply biding its time, preparing to inevitably move on from a struggling, heavily criticized player, we get this incredible twist.
Despite the deafening fan criticism and the brutal local narratives, the coaching staff quietly and fiercely praises his performance internally. Head coach Mike McDonald has indicated on multiple occasions that according to the team's internal, highly guarded grading metrics, Anthony Bradford is actually a very good player. Think about that. The tape the casual fans watch on Sunday television broadcasts and the complex, nuanced metrics the coaching staff evaluate in the darkness of the film room on Tuesday mornings, they are telling two entirely different stories. The men with the clipboards, the guys actually scheming the offense and calling the plays, they see immense value in his run-blocking grades and his pure physical presence. But, guys, this creates a glaring contradiction. If the head coach genuinely believes he's a very good, foundational player, why the intense contract standoff? Why the prolonged front office silence? To understand the executive's hesitation, we have to zoom way out and look at the bigger picture.
Section 1. The Financial Tidal Wave. Superstars versus the salary cap.
You see, the NFL is fundamentally a zero-sum game. The salary cap is a hard, unforgiving wall that every single general manager on earth must navigate. You simply can't pay everyone. It doesn't matter how much a guy loves the city, how good of a locker room presence he is, or how many grueling snaps he plays. It's just math. A front office is not just managing the roster for this upcoming Sunday, they are managing the financial health, the viability, and the competitive window of the entire franchise for the next half-decade. And Seattle? They are currently staring down the barrel of a massive, franchise-altering financial tidal wave. You can see it perfectly in the sheer weight of the names coming up for mandatory extensions. Look at this list: Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy, A.J. Barner, Gray Zabel, Nick Emonwori, Sam Darnold. Every single one of these players is going to rightfully demand a significant slice of the salary cap pie. But there is one name on this list that matters more than the rest, the one that keeps the general manager awake in cold sweats at 3 in the morning, Devin Witherspoon. Witherspoon isn't just looking for a standard raise. He has quickly established himself as one of the absolute best, most violently disruptive defensive players in the National Football League. And because of that, he is about to completely earth-shatteringly reset the market at the cornerback position. When a superstar of that elite caliber gets paid, it creates a massive black hole on the balance sheet. It inevitably sucks the available cash away from the middle class of the roster. Every single guaranteed dollar negotiated for a megastar like Witherspoon is a dollar that mathematically cannot be given to a mid-tier offensive guard.
And it gets worse for Bradford, because it's not just the future defensive contracts that are squeezing the life out of the team's available cap space. You also have to consider the core group of players Seattle has already prioritized and paid: Jackson Smith-Njigba, Charles Cross, Abraham Lucas. The organization has fundamentally committed its long-term financial future to this specific, highly touted offensive core. And notice the exact positions they are playing. You have a franchise left tackle in Charles Cross to protect the blind side. You have a dynamic #1 wide receiver in Jackson Smith-Njigba to stretch the field. And you have a pivotal right tackle in Abraham Lucas. These are premium, high-value positions in the modern pass-happy NFL, and they command premium market-setting dollars. So the vault is already partially empty. The front office has made their bed with these foundational pieces, dedicating massive percentages of the cap to ensuring the perimeter and the edges are secured. And because of those massive investments, they now have to scramble. They have to penny pinch and look under the sofa cushions just to find the spare change necessary to keep the interior of the roster afloat.
Section 2. The brutal business of balancing the books.
This brings us to the brutal, deeply unsentimental reality of NFL roster construction. Loyalty rarely beats math. In fact, loyalty is often a luxury that a championship-contending team simply cannot afford to indulge in. You can give your absolute heart and soul to an organization. You can play through unimaginable physical pain for 98% of the season. But if the internal Excel spreadsheet dictates that your projected second contract puts the team over the legal spending limit, your locker is going to be cleared out by Friday afternoon. It is a harsh, cold truth that fans often overlook in the heat of fandom. But it is the exact, unyielding law that governs every single personnel decision made in the front office. If you don't believe how ruthless this specific math can be, you just have to look at the franchise's recent history of agonizing, highly unpopular choices. To secure those premium players like Cross, Lucas, and Smith-Njigba, look at who they were forced to let walk out the door. Ken Walker, Kobe Bryant, Boye Mafe. These weren't just practice squad guys. They weren't guys buried at the bottom of the depth chart or special teams role players. These were heavy, vital contributors. These were massive fan favorites. Guys who reliably sold jerseys in the team store. Guys who made explosive, game-winning plays on national television, but they were allowed to leave in the offseason as unfortunate cap casualties simply to keep the overarching books balanced. The team coldly analyzed their production, looked at the skyrocketing price tag of retaining them, and let them walk away to other cities for absolutely nothing. This right here, this is the dark, unavoidable graveyard of the NFL salary cap.
Now, I want you to take that harsh reality, keep it in the front of your mind, and apply it directly to our man Anthony Bradford. We have to do a ruthless, completely objective priority check. If a dynamic, game-changing playmaker like Ken Walker can be shown the door, and an explosive, quarterback terrifying edge rusher like Boyang Mafe can be allowed to walk in free agency, can a mid-tier interior guard who is widely criticized by a vocal segment of the fan base truly survive this impending financial purge? Think about it. Even with his phenomenal 98% snap count, and even with Coach McDonald's glowing internal metrics and public praise, Bradford might simply not be high enough on the organizational priority list. When you are staring down the barrel of that historic Devin Witherspoon megadeal, you have to find sacrifices somewhere. You have to find your cap casualties to balance the ledger. The terrifying question for Bradford right now is this: is he destined to be the exact next name added to that long, depressing list of cap casualties?
All of this tension builds to the ultimate franchise-altering strategic question for the front office right now. It is a high-stakes, multi-million-dollar game of poker, and there are two distinct ways they can play this hand. Option 1, do they trust Coach McDonald's internal metrics enough to extend Bradford right now, quietly and on the cheap, before he potentially has a massive, undeniable breakout season? If they lock him into a multi-year deal today at a steep discount and he plays like a legitimate Pro Bowler this fall, the front office looks like absolute visionary geniuses. They save millions. But if they pay him guaranteed money now and he regresses to the mean, making those same visible mistakes, they've just wasted precious, irreplaceable cap space they desperately need for Witherspoon. Or do they take option 2, the arguably more dangerous route? Do they hold off, let him go into the season completely unchanged, and effectively force him to play a terrifying prove-it year on the last year of his rookie deal? Look, NFL history is absolutely littered with teams who tried to force a player into a prove-it year only to have it blow up right in their faces. Think about it. The team refuses to extend a starting player early, forcing them to play it out. The player gets highly motivated, has an absolute career year, hits the open market, and suddenly the team has to pay double what it would have cost a year prior. Or worse, they lose them entirely. If Seattle forces Bradford to prove it, and he has his best season ever, his price tag will instantly skyrocket completely out of their affordable range, and they will lose their Iron Man starting guard to the highest bidder in free agency. It is a massive, massive gamble, with the entire stability of the offensive line hanging delicately in the balance.
The tension in that building is palpable. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the clock is loudly ticking on Seattle's front office to make their definitive move. Now, the biggest question of all is turning directly to you. What would you do if you were sitting in the general manager's chair, holding the pen, looking at that exact same unforgiving spreadsheet? Would you lock down the 98% Ironman on a cheap, preventative deal today, trusting the coaching staff's internal vision, or would you risk the prove-it year to save absolutely every possible dollar of cap space for the incoming superstars? Let us know your exact strategy down in the comments. We genuinely read every single one to see where the community stands on these massive roster decisions. If you want more deep, cinematic dives into the ruthless business of football, the complex strategies behind the salary cap, and the stories that most major networks just gloss over, you are in the exact right place. Subscribe to NFL Nexus right now. Hit that like button to help push this explainer out to more hardcore football fans. And if you really want to support the deep dive, analytical content we create here every single week, consider becoming a channel member today. We'll see you in the next explainer, where the relentless business of football never sleeps.